Well, howdy, and welcome back to SciTrek, your sci-fi TV and movie channel. Hey, welcome back to Stargate Outpost. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good.
Good. That is always good to hear. How is everybody? How's chat? We got a few people up in here. Hope everyone is doing well. We've got a little fun topic today. Something fun. Just a little brain exercise to play around with.
Yep.
Talking about one of our favorite things. Two of our favorite things, actually. Not just Stargate SG1. But Stargate Atlantis as well. Let me go ahead and bring this thing up here. Joseph Malazzi, of Stargate fame, of course, tweeted the other day, or X'd, whatever it's called, that you must swap out a member of SG1 for a member of the Atlantis expedition, and vice versa. Who are you bringing to Stargate Command, and who are you sending to the Pegasus Galaxy, excuse me, and why? Why?
Why?
Why, as old Stewie would say. Wheatons. I guess I had a little bit more of a country accent than Stewie would have with the wha on there, but there we go. Blue Banner. Thank you, David. Thank you. Yeah, so let's just get this thing started off. If you had to, let me just bring this back up here just for a little bit. We can kind of talk behind it. Just, initially, the people that come to mind are probably like Sam, Jonas, Dr. Daniel Jackson, of course.
Right.
Any of them would you like to jump over and think about? And honestly, just those three, who would you replace him with for SGA? I mean, from SGA to SG1.
Well, I always felt that Atlantis needed a Dr. Daniel Jackson. There wasn't really a character that really was that in Atlantis,
Yeah.
So, but who do you swap him with? Because you just kind of want him to be there. And as we know from the show, he really, really wanted to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if we replace him or maybe exchange him with what's his name?
Lorne kind of feels like a decent person.
Yeah.
But that's still more like strictly military in a way.
I was thinking what was the guy who was like kind of second to McKay? What's his name?
Oh, Zelenka.
Yeah, Zelenka.
Oh, that would actually be a really good switch.
Yeah, Zelenka. Yeah.
Yeah, really, McKay was supposed to be Atlantis' Dr. Jackson. Yeah. But
no, I agree with that, but he didn't have the archaeology background,
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Jackson for Zelenka.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, if Jackson went there in lieu of Zelenka, and it was I can't speak now, Dr. Daniel Jackson and McKay on there, McKay would have kind of ended up being that Sam role.
Yeah.
And sarcastic at the same time. Hi, all. Howdy, Stanley. So what about the girl that played Osiris? Ooh. Well, right now we're thinking like, so this is the caveat. This is what we were kind of discussing right before. It's Atlantis' expedition. So it's not Taylor. It's not Ronan. It's not Todd or anybody else that we know from the Pegasus Galaxy necessarily. It's the people that went to Atlantis on that expedition. Would you swap Zelenka for Dr. Bill Lee? That'd be entertaining as well.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that'd be great too. Yeah.
That's a really good one. The actress would have been great. I don't know how you put Osiris on there though. Aquabird asks, "Where's Jay?" Good question. We don't know. He kind of pops in as he pleases sometimes.
Yeah. He's more of a Sundays guy.
Yeah. Depends how he's feeling during the week. Sometimes, busy working. But yeah, I like Zelenka for Billy a whole bunch. If you were gonna put Jonas on the Atlantis expedition, who would you switch out? Because at that point, I don't want to switch out McKay for anybody, but that would feel like somebody that would be a natural kind of. Jonas learns faster than anybody else we know. He's got that like innate ability.
Right.
Michael.
I almost wonder if like a Zelenka for him would be better than Jackson for him.
I don't think. I feel like it would have to be a bigger one. I don't know why Dr. because Daniel could come in there and be almost like that overseer, or hey, I'm going to be in the background and still kind of help out. Like I'm reporting to Stargate Command. I'm helping out when I can for missions and stuff, but I'm still like reporting to Stargate SGC, something like that. Or if it's Jonas, he's got to be involved. He's probably taken over full time for somebody. I can't see it kind of being anybody besides McKay, because he's not taking over for.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's got to be like a McKay kind of character.
I mean, he could totally take over for anybody, but if they were to send him, I would assume, I guess, that it would have to be kind of like that main kind of part of the expedition. Mark talking about Doctor Who over here. Michael likes the Tok'ra over here a lot as well. Do they have to bring back young duplicate O'Neill to lead the SGA?
Oh.
That'd be kind of interesting, actually.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I guess he was still really young back then, so he wouldn't necessarily lead the SGA, but nowadays that would totally make some sense. Evening, Peter. How are you? For anybody getting here late, let me just go ahead and put this back on screen for just a second. This is our little brain tease for the day that we're playing with. We're currently talking about how Jonas and Dr. Daniel Jackson could have switched over to the Pegasus Galaxy and who they would have switched with.
Right.
But there's a lot of options, and there's a lot of things to be discussing on this. Outside of those two, obviously, we see Sam get to go there for a while. But if she was on that original team, is she going to be taking over for Weir? Is she going to be taking over for? She could take over for Shepard.
Oh yeah,
there's a few different.
That would be good. Have a female, I guess, a more military leader, of the expedition.
She is almost a happy medium between military and not military, couldn't get a civilian,
that military administrator, which we see in season 4, of course, but assuming we're talking before that happened. I think that would be a good swap.
Her instead of Shepard or Weir?
Shepard.
Yeah,
I mean, Weir is good too, but just to do something, but since we already know she's going to do that, basically, she literally does.
Shepard feels the most natural.
Different than that, it would be like Shepard, and that would be like kind of a step to becoming the commander or whatever of the expedition. Yeah.
Because I mean, love Ben Browder, love Cam, but it always was kind of weird that now Cam, who's totally not 8 or 10 years, Amanda Tapping's younger, but like a couple years younger, and he's just going to pop in here and start leading everything. I get he's decorated and everything, but SG1, it would kind of help to have a lot of alien experience. It still kind of is odd.
He's got the experience and dealing in, dicey situations, traveling to other worlds and stuff too. She has a lot of experience with it by that point.
Yeah. So it would have made a lot more sense for her to legitimately lead the expedition. In the military role, not necessarily just that weird role. Oh, Aquabird, real quick. I found some major Stargate news I've been trying to tell Jay. Well, give us a hint, and you can always email SciTrek as well, and we'll check it out there if it's something juicy and cool. But who else are we thinking? Because those are kind of our 3 that just naturally pop into our heads.
Right.
But to like play around with it some, anybody else jump out at you? Would a Lorne be or a Ford be switched off with like a Kowalski or somebody? I guess Kowalski dies pretty quickly, or a couple different times. Who knows which Kowalski we're talking about? But something in that vein. I'm trying to think of who would be a good like secondary switch over there. If Walter gets stuck in Atlanta for a bit.
Walter and There was that other guy. He was like a minor character, and he was only in like the first season. But there was like a dude who dialed the gate and stuff. But it was like a minor. But I don't remember the name.
Atlantis. He was mean though. He got
Chuck
kicked
the
out.
Technician. Chuck the Technician, maybe.
Oh.
I'm just looking at like the IMDb list of characters.
In Atlantis?
Like Chuck the Technician, I think he's like the Walter of Atlantis.
Yeah.
So they'd have pretty much exactly the same job. It just would be switching. I kind of get that sense, like, yeah.
Yeah, we have both the IMDb's for SG1 and SGA here, just to kind of scroll through as well.
Right, yeah. Chuck the
When you said, yeah,
and the guy's name was Chuck too. That's funny. Oh no, that's the character's name. Never mind.
Well, no, it's both.
That was the actors' names, but
it is. It's the actor and the character. Chuck Campbell plays the Technician.
I was thinking, okay.
And Chuck.
Oh, you're right. I'm getting like the names of the characters and the actors mixed.
Yeah, no, that's easy to do. I'm trying to figure out because I was thinking I thought you were talking about a specific guy first. Who is the guy that is just not very friendly?
Before that guy that was kind of a jerk with the long
in Atlantis, yeah. Light-skinned dude, got kind of a low, I guess a high hairline. I don't know how to describe him. What that wasn't the nicest way. Sorry, dude.
And,
not Kavanaugh? Was that him?
I think it was Kavanaugh. Well, is there a picture of Kavanaugh you can put?
Yeah, let's look for him real quick. Parker. No. Aiden Ford.
I think it is Kavanaugh that we're thinking, or at least that's who I'm thinking of. Maybe you're thinking of somebody different.
Well, he's not popping up right here, which is kind of odd. I would have thought he'd been Dr. Kavanaugh.
Yeah.
Ben Cotton.
Yeah.
No, not that guy.
Oh, not that guy. Okay, I thought you were talking about that guy.
Yeah, I forgot about him. He's a good little minor character that is just in there and kind of pops back. Now we're in the writers. Okay, I'll think about it. Is the guy you love to be annoyed by? Aye.
Yeah.
Can I send links in chat, Aqua? Yeah, but they don't always pop up. I found a comic book news article discussing the reason Amazon hasn't made new Stargate. If you want, I can put the link in chat. Sure, yes, please. If it works, hell yeah. Glasses and ponytail. That's not who I'm thinking of. He's one of the he's not like a doctor kind of guy. He's the guy that is like Weir's second in command at the beginning, and he kind of questions her.
I know what guy you're thinking of too, and I can't think of it.
Peter Groden was a British guy who dies on the ancient satellite at S1. Also did the dialing sequence. That's pretty cool. I don't think I'm thinking of him though. I want them to do a multiverse episode where they run into Jack O'Neill from the original movie and Jack O'Neill of the TV series meet.
Yeah.
Like, it would be so cheesy in a way, but it would be so good in every other way.
I know, if would Kurt Russell be willing to do it? He might at this point.
Oh, I'm sure they'd almost be more willing to. Realistically, I would think Kurt Russell and James Spader would be more willing to do it than RDA would.
Mm-hmm.
In a weird way.
Yeah.
But them coming to do that might be one of the only ways you can get RDA to come back and like really get going with something like that too. Because if they did that, they would have to make sure it was a really well written episode. But it could be so much fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would.
And James Spader, the Jacksons. I thought all the doctors in Stargate were women. Beckett, Kavanaugh, Zelenka, Jackson. I'm sure there's more
medical doctors.
Medical,
but medical doctors.
Just Beckett.
Beckett.
Yeah. The glasses and ponytail. I'm gonna have to figure out that guy's name. I'm gonna remember it by about halfway in here. The MDs.
Oh, if we know an episode that he was in specifically, maybe we can look at. He was probably in the first episode, right?
He had to. Yeah, because I don't want to sit too much time on this guy, but
right.
I'm gonna be knocking my head up against the wall for half the day trying to think of that guy. SGA expedition member.
Anyway, that dude that we can't. Oh, I found him. Dr. Peter Groden, maybe. I think that's who we're thinking of. I think that may be who you're thinking of.
No,
that okay. Okay.
No, I'll find him. Right. But I guess who else are we thinking of? Because there's so many good ones. So many good ones. Chat, any ideas that y'all would like to switch over? That would be fun just to have a little, like, thought game with it for a second.
Right. And I was thinking like Dr. Fraser, but she's like has died by the time Atlantis starts, right? She's already died. So
I guess because it's right in that time period.
Yeah.
Rip.
Big rip. Alternate universe Fraser? No. Because she comes up, shows up later.
Oh yeah, we joked. What if it was just the original SG1 Fraser switched out with the SGA Fraser real quick? Right. Bang was Shepard's second in command. I think that's who you're. I think that. Let me Google real quick. Okay, I got to type in Stargate. SGA did not bring anything up. Why is he not popping up? Anyway, okay, sorry, keep going. I will find this guy.
We do forget that Robert Patrick is in, the first.
Oh. Great freaking one. Oh my God. Who would you switch out Robert Patrick with? In SG1?
Jack, I guess it'd have to be Jack because he's running the SGC at the time.
So
that I don't know, that might be like a step down because he's actually, because we're whatever they report to the SGC. So gosh,
well, maybe Robert Patrick could have been I guess because I was gonna say maybe Cam. But Cam, yeah, because Jack wouldn't have been able to go to Atlantis at that point. And yeah, let's not forget about Mitchell here. Cam would have been, I guess, the person Robert Patrick would have been.
Yeah, it would be that, yeah.
And Cam's just again, I don't. He was too young to lead the SG1 team at that point, but Kowalski for.
Well, and it's also a year before he joins the show, but. If we're being picky about things, I don't know. We don't.
I guess he would have been in the process, the application process, or would have been looked at.
Or he was in that battle at the end of season 7, right? I think, yeah.
Which is what got. So he knows of aliens at least.
Yeah.
Okay. But Kowalski for Sumner, which is Robert Patrick's character, would have been very interesting.
Yeah.
That would have been a good.
Oh yeah, that works. Yeah. I kind of forget about Kowalski because he's so like early on in the series. You kind of forget about him because he died. Does he die in the first season, like the first season? I don't know. He dies pretty early on. It seems like
he dies in like the second or third episode, doesn't he? But is brought back somehow.
Right. I don't remember. I'm really due to watch Stargate through again. It's been a while. It's been a minute.
I have it on in the background every week, and I still forget exactly what's going on. Just so much.
And then, a lot in 10 years.
Andor and everything else. So it's all the Star Wars, now Star Trek knowledge, and now Farscape knowledge. All of it is just it's all in the
book. Gets kind of all jumbled in there.
We are sci-fi folk, I think. Would be the way our brains would be described. But Stanley's Kowalski for Sumner actually makes a lot of sense. Kowalski had the military expertise. He was Jack's second in command. Michael, that's actually an interesting thought process there as well. Life is short, plenty of new shows to watch. That's the truth. But does that mean we're going to lose all the info that we've gotten from all the old ones? No, we're just excited to continue to talk about it.
Who would Vala I don't know if she's serious enough to be an archaeologist. That's the only thing. I think she's too her mind on trying her little schemes and stuff,
She could make a good archaeologist if she wanted to, with all the Google implanted memories and everything like that. Sure.
Yeah.
But like you're saying, I don't see her doing it.
Yeah, I don't think she'd want to. I think she would have the ability to do it. It's just if she'd want to do it. Yeah.
Amelia Banks. Oh, I've vaguely recognized her.
Is that the young cadet chick? No, it's not.
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
This girl. So she was in Atlantis the whole time. I guess she was just kind of behind the computers.
Oh, like, right. I remember her. She was kind of like in the background, but I want to say there was like maybe like one episode that she kind of had a.
Is that her as a ancient as well?
Oh,
the same actress? Yeah, I think that's the same actress.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, no, she's definitely recognizable, and that's is that SG1? Is she the one that they bring out of the ice?
Oh yeah, she's the frozen chick.
That's not her.
No.
I think she's supposed to hook up with Ronan at the end. That girl's in it. Yes. Who's the one who hooks up with Ronan at the end? Are you thinking of Keller? Because Keller ends up with McKay, even though it seems more likely that I'm sure they end up with, it's just how they wrote that.
Yeah.
Banks is Ronan's chick in season 5, got kickboxing skills. Amelia Banks. Does she have kickboxing in? Is this the same actress? The girl you have up right now. With Ronan. Okay, I'm very jumbled. I'm confused now. Swap Michael and Ball, so we have a Wraith, Hybrid, and Milky Way, and a Goa'uld and Pegasus, both trying to establish and disrupt the status quo. Yeah. That would be awesome. Yeah, that would be really cool. I know they're not necessarily part of the expedition or SG1, but this would be amazing. Yep, that's her. Okay, so that was the right lady for everything. I don't remember her. I guess I kind of remember. That looks familiar, kind of.
It's like I remember there being like a chick on computers kind of in the background that would say a line once in a while, but I don't really like the face didn't stick, but that must have been her,
Yeah. And I vaguely remember Ronan kickboxing with. I guess my brain just goes back to Taylor every time I think of him fighting with somebody. Yeah, it's either Taylor or Teal. But there's just that kickbox, just that word is just kicking something in the brain. Watch the rest of Atlantis again. I haven't made it to that point yet in the card games, not in the background yet. Okay. But no, I really like the Michael and the Ball idea there. Because Todd, of course, is my favorite Wraith to go around and do anything. But Michael, old Lamplight, or AKA Last Light.
Last Light, the name we can never remember.
No. He would be perfect for SG1. He would have been the perfect foil just to come in there and say, hey, you've seen Apophis, you've seen Nearty. How about you put the two of them together real quick? And here's Michael. Here's your buddy Mike, just hanging out, sucking the life force out of people with his hand. I guess he can't do that anymore.
Oh yeah, because he's more human, I guess, or whatever. So he lives on like human food, but did he ever suck people's life force? I don't remember.
Because there was a way he did, right? Because he killed
Maybe
Beckett.
he could do both.
Right?
He could live off food and life force or something.
Something.
Or something.
Just Hannibal Lecter people every now and then, you know. Cut the skull open, you know, get a nice spoon. Full wraith it up.
Mm-hmm.
Michael was awesome. Didn't know whether to hate him or love him, LOL. Yeah, because you feel so bad for him. You don't want anybody to go through kind of like it's torture. I mean, that was what it was. It was conditioning.
It was like experimentation gone wrong, and then it's like, you know, he just wanted his revenge for what they did to him, I guess. He shouldn't have been that shocked by it, I guess, but I don't know.
Like, it's just the comparison that comes to mind. It's not necessarily like a apt or a very good comparison, but it's. I love Atlantis, but they kind of put him through like space Auschwitz just a little bit. Like, hey, let's condition you into being something entirely different than what you were whenever you got in here. You know,
right?
Which, hey, we're supposed to be the good guys. Stargate Command out here. What are we doing? Creating literally the worst villain in the Pegasus Galaxy possibly.
Well, they did that with the replicators too. Remember, with was it number 4 or whatever? Like Sam was all nice to him, and then they were like, "Yoink." You know?
Sorry, we're gonna keep you frozen in time until you hopefully die.
Yeah.
And still, Michael was the asshole.
Yeah.
Can we just all send all the annoying SG1 characters off to Atlantis and bring back the good ones, then cut off Atlantis? No! Atlantis is so much more cool. But it would be kind of funny.
It would be not a bad idea.
It'd be effective.
Yeah.
He was going to feed on Taylor when he started to revert at first, but she got away.
Oh, okay.
But he got away. That's right. But yeah, he was just such a complicated and complex character in that sense where I don't want to support him at all.
No.
But also, if I were in his position, would I be doing the same thing? I'd be pretty pissed off. Is you know?
Yeah, I know. I get it. It's like.
But no, him switching with Ball. If Ball was in the Pegasus Galaxy, it's easy to see where Michael could play around and say, "Hey, I'm gonna go do this. I'm gonna go do this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna befriend the entire Lucian Alliance." Michael would take over the Lucian Alliance.
Oh yeah, totally. That would be great. Like
that'd be really fun to see too.
A great little like fan fiction story to write.
Oh, Michael coming in here with another thought. What if?
Oh, right.
Ooh, what if Ball's Ghoul took over Michael's body?
Oh man.
So Michael was Ball, and Ball was Michael.
That.
Dun 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 dun.
That would be interesting.
That would be fun too.
Oh yes.
I mean, Imhotep only lasts for a day.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Cool's so good. The link up for Quinn would have been good too. The link up for Quinn's a good one.
Yeah, that's what I said, didn't I? Or maybe I didn't. I don't remember.
But Ball, I think you did say that. Yeah.
Yeah.
If Ball was in the Pegasus, what do you think he'd do?
I would love to see Ball and the Wraith meeting. Like, how would that go? Like,
would they try to feed? Could they? Would they want to feed on him? Because he's technically already being fed off of.
Right. I would think they'd want to feed off him more because, you know, like maybe you get, you know, you got kind of basically 2 life forces because you have the host and then you have the Gould.
Oh.
So which,
I was thinking less just because, you know, it would be the immediate competition. But if the Wraith were to overpower the Gould while feeding,
it
gets maybe that Gould healing powers is going to try to heal the host, and they continuously get that food.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Or if a Wraith let themselves be a host, how does that work? Would they be able to feed off of the Gould in them? You know what I mean?
That they couldn't, because the Gould would be inside of them.
Yeah.
But then, when the Wraith feeds, if it has a Goa'uld inside of them, how much does it strengthen the Goa'uld as well?
Does right. Yeah, they need food. Because
this might be a whole video in itself.
If I mean, what we've seen of like beings they choose as hosts, they eat food. So.
Yeah.
But I don't know, unless the Goa'uld just adapts itself to whatever life form it infests, maybe it would just...
Which we've seen it do so far.
Maybe they would just adjust to, or maybe all the Goa'uld start like coming to the Pegasus galaxy like crazy because they realize Wraith are better hosts than humans. And more evil, more like think like them too, so there isn't like a fight between, like they suppress the host's consciousness or whatever. Yeah.
Well, and I guess they are insect like, so the Wraith could almost, and we've seen that they do have some minor degree of a hive mind, because they are all kind of stuck in with the queens, and the queens are kind of saying, this is what's going on, this is what you can't do. And I don't remember don't the queens like yell, or whenever the queens get hurt, don't all the other Wraiths in the vicinity kind of feel it?
They kind of suggested that in the first episode, when they killed her and like they all started waking up, it seemed like they were all like kind of screaming and stuff. Like, but it was more like they were mad that she was dead, but they must feel her death then, that it woke them up.
Yeah, yeah, because the waking up, I guess, is what I'm thinking of. But if they're able to take over, because especially the queens, I mean, obviously they would want to take over like a Michael or a Todd or somebody like that, but or just any head honcho kind of Wraith they can find.
Right.
But if they can take over a queen,
that would be, Goa'uld would want that because they always want power. So whatever would be the power, that's what they'd go for.
What's the point of the Jaffa anymore when you have all of the Wraith drones?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Send them back to our galaxy. It'd be pretty...
It would be interesting if Michael and Ball swap places in the galaxy, and because this would actually be a really fun way to bring Stargate back, honestly. If a Ball clone were to go to the final Ball clone were to go to the Pegasus galaxy, and had snuck aboard one of the ships during the process, and left Atlantis, went on the mainland with Taylor's people, and then hopped off. And just Ball's sneaky, he could do that pretty easily. And over that time, his Goa'uld gets into a Wraith that attacks one of the people. He purposely allows himself to get vacuumed up into a Wraith dart ship, and then finds his way back in there. Finally, he's about to be fed on, jumps ship into a Wraith mouth, and then finds his way into a queen eventually, or something like that. And then vice versa.
Yeah,
Michael's the perfect villain for SG1 for a bit, to just take over the Lucian Alliance, really kind of get into that, while Ball is creating another Goa'uld army in the back. That would be a fun way to see this whole thing come back.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's a way people really talked about. And that's a way you could bring two galaxies together again pretty quickly. Because you immediately have the entire Pegasus galaxy fighting. You'd either have to say, hey, Pegasus galaxy is completely screwed right now, and we need to go back and help. And then you realize who's over there screwing up the deal, how they're screwing up the deal. Or you save that and say, how did the Wraith get all this power, and now they're waking everybody up and just taking over everything? Oh, wait. They know there's another galaxy to feed off of over here. They don't mind the drones dying, kind of deal.
Exactly. Would they team up with the Lucian Alliance, maybe, and kind of on two fronts,
I think that would be when Michael would team with Stargate Command. I think that would be one of those like rocky relationships again, where it's like, okay, enemy of an enemy.
Yep.
And then the second it's over, Michael's going to pull something.
Yeah.
Ball knows how to localize a few Stargates together outside the normal gate system, therefore giving him time to create an entire army. That's very true as well.
Yep.
Y'all, we might have just cracked a little bit of a code here. Make the movie, and then this is the TV show, y'all. Malazzi, where are you?
Yeah.
Sorry, go for it.
Oh no, I was gonna say just like, send him a copy of this video or a clip.
Yeah, share directly.
Yep.
We only saw 2 Uber Wraiths throughout the whole series. Would like to see beefed up Uber Wraith again.
Yeah.
I wouldn't actually. I get where you're coming from with that, but think about it. We started seeing some hyped up Goa'uld, and like Anubis is getting really cool, and then Anubis says, "Hey, I'm going to hype up my Goa'uld and create some super Goa'uld." Right. And then the Goa'uld amounted to nothing, and now we don't really care about him at all. And like the Cold Warriors are mindless drones again, kind of like the Wraith kind of drones.
The ones with the mask over there.
And I feel like that would just end up being kind of the same thing.
Right.
Where the Uber Wraith, Todd's not even an Uber Wraith, I guess. He's just another Wraith.
Yeah, he's a Wraith, but did they give him the treatment so he didn't have to live off of life force only or something?
That might be it. Did they give him control of his own mind almost to get out of the hive mind? I vaguely remember something like that. Michael, correct us if we're on the wrong thought process there. But yeah, Malazzi, hire us, please. I live in LA. I'm not far. Please. I could use the work, please.
Does he live in LA? Anyway,
I don't know, but at some point, MGM or Amazon, they have somebody here. I'll help out as much as I can.
Yeah. Always willing to help. That's what we're here for.
Back goes home and fights the final Wraith boss.
That we picked it as like the best episode of that season. Cicada or whatever his home planet name is. Where he goes back and so Uber Wraith was the dude he fought.
Oh, and also when Taylor got turned into a Wraith and the second in command looked like an Uber Wraith, fully cognizant.
Right.
Yes. Okay, so the Satedans, is that because they were given extra life force and stuff, right? Is that because they had like Wraith juices flowing through them, Wraith Wraith DNA, Wraith genomes going through them?
Yeah, that's right, because they can reverse their energy. They can put life force into somebody too, as well as take it out.
And they did that for a few specifics, I believe. Like that one planet, right? Weren't they continuing to help them out a little bit while they're kind of
There's people that worship the Wraith, and like it's like to get life force from a Wraith is like the ultimate thing or whatever. Yeah. Or they liked that giving their energy and getting it back, like there was like a high or something you got off of that, maybe.
Okay, no, Wraith destroyed Sateda because they can't feed on Satedans for some reason. That's right. But also, why were the other Satedans just there specifically working for the Wraith at that point then? For their like amnesty almost, or because some of the Sateda stuff is obviously the best stuff in SGA, or a lot of
it is. Yeah, it is. I wish they kind of did a little bit more of that. That was really cool.
Kind of jumbles together because it's so far spread apart. Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because he totally got fed on in later seasons. But that might be so much human medical things have happened to him that now he's, maybe he got a few blood transfusions and now he's got human DNA through him as well. I don't know. Because it's really cool. My front neighbor in the little triplex I'm in right now, he's he does gymnastics and boxing and stuff like that. He's like a personal trainer like that. Also works for a couple colleges and stuff like that. But his really good buddy is the Asian dude with like the sword. That's super cool. That's the Satedans guy. That's like Ronan's buddy. That's also in John Wick 3. That John Wick kind of near the end, you know. That's one of his guys. I've seen him out here on the front porch, like drinking a beer with my neighbor, which is kind of cool. I didn't say anything because I was like on the way out, you know. But it was just a cool little moment or two, you know. But yeah, that I just don't. I guess I don't understand the feeding aspect. They didn't really ever make it too clear for us anyway.
Right.
Yeah, the tech developments. I would have done the same thing if I seen him.
Yeah.
I was like sprinting out of the way, like out of the house, like onto a movie or something. Like gotta go. Because I wait till the movie starts to leave my house because you got 25 minutes previews, and if it takes about 10 minutes to get there and a couple more minutes to walk, I'll get in my seat by about time the movie starts. So I was like sprinting out, and I just like literally saw him on the way. No way. I swear, the coolest people you see out here are completely whenever you don't have time to say anything or talk to anybody. Like Miranda Backman walking through the Sony garage, and then just literally late to work, so sprinting the other direction.
Well, your brain kind of didn't register it till after, right? And then you're like,
and then I called Jamie, and Jamie was like, "Why did you not stop and ask for a picture?" I was like, first of all, maybe weird. Second of all, like, not the right place or time, but like the brain just didn't pick it up for half a second.
I always just think, you know, they're just a normal person. You know what I mean? We're all just human beings, and it's like they have a right to live their life without being bugged for pictures and stuff all the time. You know, that's what I always feel. You know,
I thought exactly, because whenever you do get to actually like sit and talk with somebody for a brief moment or a little longer, they're typically pretty chill. They're human beings, you know. But it is that moment when you like just see somebody you've only seen like on screen for a long time. You're like, are you real? Like, do a mime for me real quick. Like, give me something.
Yeah, there's that initial kind of like fangirl, fanboy thing of like, oh my God. And then you're like, no, they're just a person. Be chill, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
You know?
Like, and typically it is just like walking by and something like that. Like, went to go see Parasite when it came out. We did a double screening of Parasite and Zombieland 2. It went from Zombieland 2 to Parasite. It was fun to like super intense. And right after we walked out of Parasite, you know, that movie just you're thinking about everything that you just saw. And, you know, as we're kind of discussing it, we look up and Jordan Peele is walking out. We're like, we just sat in a movie theater with Jordan Peele, just walking out of the same movie with us. Mark Dacascos. There we go. Yes. That was his name. That's him. Yep. That's who we initially were talking about. But the most awkward I've ever been seeing a star and actually having like the briefest of interactions. Because if you're on a set, you know, like you get to talk to somebody for a while, and that's when you actually get to pick somebody's brain and be like, oh, you're a person. Cool. But I walked out of a smoke shop like the first couple weeks I was in LA and walked into Charlie Hunnam, and that was literally me just going, and he goes, hey, lad, or like, hey, buddy, or whatever, and just kept walking in. We went into the same smoke shop I just walked out of, and I was like, was that Jax? Like, what? Where's the cut and where's the motorcycle? There's got to be something around here. I'm so confused, you know? Like, that just happened? It happened. And he was just the most normal person and just
out picking up his supply for the week, whatever, you know?
You know, that was great. Have you ever seen Soap with Whoopi Goldberg? I don't think so. Not off the top of my head, I don't know. But back outside Star Search for LA.
Here we go with our rabbit trails, you know. Next we'll be talking about souls.
hey, now that I got a pool, we'll invite all the stars over. We'll start having SciTrek Star Saturdays or something. That was a good alliteration out of nowhere.
SciTrek pool party. No.
I'm gonna have to get in summer shape before we start doing those.
It'll motivate you to stay in shape, you know. You got to be in swimsuit shape.
Yeah. Now 365 days a year, 24/7. I need to get back into that ASAP. They were a while ago. We're back to it. Mark Dacascos. It was really cool to see. But the Satedans, where do we leave on the Satidan stuff? They can't be fed on, or can they?
Yeah, we don't. I don't know if the show really makes it real clear. I don't remember them saying they could or couldn't. Like, oh, that was like that's a thing I didn't pick up on watching it, I guess.
They say they didn't or couldn't, and then later on, Ronan is fed on because that's one of those times where the Wraith is feeding, gives you more life, feeding, gives you more life, and then they torture him for a little bit.
Yeah, doing it like as a torture, yeah.
Which is kind of clever. Not kind of, it is clever. Yeah. I don't remember exactly where we were going with the Satedan aspect of stuff, but Ball and Michael switching over would have been very interesting. Ball biding his time, but Michael wouldn't waste time. Michael would be taking over Milky Way as quickly as he could.
Yeah, he'd be like, I mean, he might, I don't know, pretend to be a good guy, but all the while plotting and scheming. And I like the idea of him hooking up with the Lucian Alliance. I think that's a really good idea. Yeah.
It just feels like the natural way he would go. Nyoga said all the surviving Satedans we see are Wraith worshippers. And that's why they're not being fed on. I guess. But was it because of a drug the Satedans were on back in the day they weren't able to be fed on? And now it's different, maybe?
Oh, it was a drug, and then he wasn't able to take that drug anymore.
But is the Hoffen, or is that the drug that we see Atlantis go to that planet and that's on the verge of becoming? It's not Kolya's planet, I don't believe, but it's not the Janai planet. It's a different one, I think, because they're also on the verge of atomic power, right? Or is that just Kolya and the Janai?
I only remember the Janai, which they were kind of like, I don't know, 1950s level, it seemed like. Or that was the impression they tried to give anyway. Yeah.
Oh, God, Peter. In Soap, the star's assistant would make a scene outside to expose her star to get attention to make her feel better. Great comedy film. Interesting. The next message I'm going to put up on the screen, but funny. Yeah, no, I'm kind of stuck on the Michael and the Ball switch now. Because that legitimately would be an awesome way to see Stargate come back.
Yeah, that there's still one more Ball clone out there, but it'd have to be a different actor, obviously. But it could always be like they somehow changed his looks in this one clone to kind of have this sort of emergency backup clone that didn't look like him, so they wouldn't kill him. Come back, I don't know, something. I think you could retcon it pretty easy, but
I would even say like give oh my God, what's his name? Cliff Curtis. There we go. Give Cliff Curtis a little bit of we all love Cliff Curtis, so say, hey, one of his original clones did escape. And just have that kind of thing where, okay, now that Gua'uld found a Wraith and was finally about to be fed on, jump ship into the Wraith, and then you can almost do that in like a quick little, like, you don't ever have to show Cliff Curtis's face. You can say this Wraith got, or Ball got taken, and you just kind of show the back of his head as he's about to be fed on. And then that Gua'uld jumps ship into the Wraith's mouth, and then that Wraith maybe walks around, and then you don't have to have Cliff Simon anymore, or Cliff Simon, not Cliff Curtis.
Cliff Simon, it is Cliff Simon. Yeah.
Cliff Curtis is the New Zealander guy. That was the father in Avatar 2 of the Water Tribe, and he's a bunch of other stuff.
Probably know the face, not the name. I'm better.
You recognize him in a heartbeat. Yeah. He's a Maori dude, great actor. Been in a lot of other things too. But yeah, no, that'd be a good way to like give Cliff Simon a nice little nod, say rest in peace, thank you for all you've done for Stargate, and your character is going to continue in something insane, and you can do that without having Cliff Simon be Ball, because Ball is a parasitic worm, you know, at the end of the day.
Yeah, I know. I would like to, seems like there was some video on YouTube I saw of like, what if a ghoul, took over a wraith? Like, what would, is it possible? How would that work? It'd be really cool to see that. I think it'd be a way to kind of, bring SG1, SGA together too, in a cool way.
Easy peasy.
Cats
There's
being
cat
crazy.
fighting outside now. There's so much. I'm ready for a much more calm place. Popcorn though, that's funny. But Quest, are you confusing the Hoffins with a drug? No, the Hoffins made a drug, right? And was it just called the Hoffin drug, or what exactly was it? And that's not what the Satedans had to keep them from being fed on originally, or was it just strictly some joining the Wraith as worshippers that kept them from being fed upon? I guess is what we were confused about. Because outside of those two, because those two are the best two so far, I would think. Just because it's such a fun little thought experiment. Who else would be a good one? If you were to switch Shepard out with somebody in SG1, I guess we've already done that with Sam.
Yeah, Sam would be good. I think Mitchell would also be a good swap with Shepard. But
I don't know if I don't think he could have led, because Shepard is the leader of Atlantis outside of. I mean, realistically, it doesn't matter if Woolsey or Sam or oh my God, Terry Higginson, Weir.
Weir.
I had to say the actress's name to actually jog the brain back. It doesn't matter who's in charge. Shepard's in charge. Ultimately, he's the military guy he's in charge of at least the military of the whole thing, and it's hard not to revert back to that in times of duress, and they're often in times of duress. I don't know if Cam would have been able to do it the same way. He does end up leading a small squad, a unit really well, but I don't know if he could have led an expedition to the same lengths.
Yeah, they're kind of different personality types too, where I think Shepard is more dynamic and more like quick to like assess the situation and okay, this is how we need to tweak things to do it, and not so like it has to be this regimented military way of doing things. So I think that's why he's so good in Atlantis, because he's able to do that.
Because we see Cam is we the only time we see Cam not being fun Cam and like outside of the SGC, he is depressed, doesn't go hang out with anybody, doesn't do anything, sits alone in his apartment drinking. And like he just said, I think he gets himself out of that kind of hole that he digs himself into by sticking to that regiment military aspect of stuff. Right. I don't know if that's the right person to lead an expedition, right. And I get it. Like
he could have done it, but I think Shepard just is the right person for that.
It would have been interesting to see, but it would have been a lot of character growth over a few seasons versus, hey, there's a reason Shepard was chosen for this job.
Right. Yeah. Well, he didn't even get chosen. I mean, he was chosen to be on the expedition, but then...
Yeah, he was a backup. Yeah.
Yeah, he was kind of forced to become the leader because the other guy died. So,
sorry, Sumner.
Yeah.
Rip Robert Patrick.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, he had the ancient gene. Aye. And B! Howdy, B. Just for, I guess, popcorn and B and anybody else that's popping in here real quick while we can keep talking over it while it's here. But this is kind of just the thought process we've been playing with We've had a lot of fun little ones. The one that we've been stuck on for a little bit was what if we switched Ball and Michael, and now we're talking about who would have taken over for Shepard, and playing with Cam and thought processes like that. Quest also just said, I don't remember anything about the Satedans having a drug. I remember Ronan's friends being addicted to the enzyme.
Yeah, I don't remember that either. So I was like, I know there was that, that thing that that was just the enzyme you got from the Wraith, right? Yeah. Okay.
That makes sense.
Because he took it to become was an experiment to try to become like a super soldier or something. The enzyme, why he took the enzyme in the first place, and then you get addicted to that feeling or power or whatever it gives you.
And they need it. Yeah.
It makes you like a little bit nutty.
and that's, I feel like, ultimately why they ended up betraying Ronan, right? It wasn't even because of the Wraith stuff, because they kind of started doubling back and saying, yeah, we don't necessarily want to be servants of the Wraith, but it was because of the enzyme they needed to be, right?
Yeah,
you get addicted to being...
It was like a means to an end, I think, but I don't. They just wanted to live and be more powerful or whatever, and just, I don't know. I don't remember exactly what the end game.
Popcorn, no, bad popcorn. But Michael, I still say they should start off SGA with Duplicate O'Neill running the city. He was too young at the time, though.
Yeah, he was like a teenager.
I guess he still had all the memories of Jack O'Neill.
Yeah, he had all them. I mean, up till that point, but then when they were separate people, then they have different lives that they've led. So
yeah, but I guess he still had like 40 plus years of experience within that little brain of his at that point.
Right. And he was going to high school, right? Because he was trying to fit in like he was normal. But did he even have parents? Because he was basically like an adult in a kid's body. So they just send him off to live in the world, like just on his own. And
well, because Frasier kind of passed away at that point. Whatever happened to Cassie? Or was it Cassidy or Cassie? Cassie, right?
Yeah, I don't know what happened to her, because I don't think Sam... I think there's some line that maybe she goes and lives with Frasier's family or something, like other family member. Now I'm like curious, like what did happen to her? I want to say there was a throwaway line by Sam or something that she was living with, Frasier's sister or something. I don't know if I'm right, but like I feel like that feels right. But
I think you're right about a throwaway line, or like just like a little background line that was like, hey, this is happening over here, just to let you know, and then kind of back to the action kind of deal. The Air Force is taking care of Duplicate O'Neill, given everything that he knows. Yeah, of course. But does he have like another family? Like, would somebody have taken it would be really funny if Bill Lee took him in, just like Frasier took in Cassie. That'd be great.
Yeah, because it's like, wouldn't either he would have to pretend to actually be just a teenage kid and get adopted by a family and never tell him, or was it did he live with somebody from the Air Force that knew the story and they just pretended like they were his adoptive parents when they needed to, but otherwise he was just living his own life just with this other family to make everything look good. I don't know if they ever even say, but
also, how could you send somebody who, they might look like a kid, but they know how to deal with themselves. They've lived by themselves for about 20, 25, 30 years at this point.
Right.
Raised a family, had a kid that things didn't go necessarily right. He's got a lot of...
he has the memories of that too, which is like great, but yeah.
Yeah, if I were him as that little clone or something and having that memory, it wouldn't make me want to go live back in like a happy household, because...
Yeah, that's what it would make more sense that maybe he just lives with some people that know what's going on, and they'll pretend to be his parents if the need arises for that to happen. Otherwise, he's just doing his own thing.
That or just lives on base, honestly. Like,
yeah, maybe he just lives on base and just Like everybody's just kind of like, okay,
Goes
there's
to military school and goes through kind of
teenage
like
kid that's just living on his own. All right.
yeah, sent to like Annapolis
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
oh my God, West Point. That's the other one. I was like West Point, Annapolis, and there's an Air Force school too. I think I just don't know what it's called. It's Colorado. That's all I know.
Yeah.
Possibly
I hope it'd be fun to bring him back if a continuation happens, to bring him back, because he'd be like, like a 30-something-year-old adult now. It'd be cool to see. You could always say like he had to have plastic surgery because you couldn't have somebody running around that looks exactly like Jack O'Neill.
Do you know what would be kind of interesting?
Mm-hmm.
Because would he count as military? I don't think he could technically count as military, but he would also be counted as military. The thought process there is
he would probably still have to go through
military.
Well, I think he still would have to do basic training and everything, and just pretend like he was just another 18-year-old joining the military, and just a handful of people would know who he really was, but he would just have to go through the training just for the physical conditioning, I guess, and just for the paperwork thing they'd have to do to cover up who he really was. I don't know, or maybe they could fake all that. There would be enough people higher up that could just create a fake, do fake papers for him or whatever. But
I don't know how much of a reach this would be, but if we do, and when we do get more Stargate, and hopefully it's a big if, but it needs to be a win. They continue and not reboot, continue our good old Stargate. It might be she might be a couple years older, but once again, clone Jack is like, who knows how old he is actually mentally, I mean, because technically he's how long has he been growing as a clone, like, has that been another like 12 years, 10 years or something like that? How many memories does he actually have, kind of deal? That would be an interesting little thing to play with.
Yeah.
But if we're going into a continuation, obviously we're not going to want it to just simply be Stargate the Next Generation.
Right.
But it does need an element of that, nonetheless, because we want to see this world continue to that next generation of stuff.
It'd have to be, because all original cast would be of an age to, like, not really be the main action hero people or whatever,
Yeah. I mean, they could do it for a little bit, but not for more than a couple seasons, maybe.
More like supervisor position, than the actual carrying out that kind of stuff,
With that thought process, though, would it be too fan servicey, or would it make the most sense? Because I think it would actually make some sense, because I get that Little Jack, we'll call him Little Jack. Little Jack is military, kind of all the way in, all the way out, because that's just kind of literally what was handed into his lap. But knowing Jack and knowing that he never had any other options, and knowing that he was the clone kind of deal, maybe he would say, yeah, sure, I'm military, but I'm not going to pay attention to all your military rules because I was never given another option to.
Right.
That being said, would he date somebody on his team? Could he date somebody on his team? And if that were the case in the Next Generation, how much sense would it be, or how much sense would it make if Jennifer Haley and Little Jack were together in the future? Because she was kind of like, okay, maybe this is not necessarily the better version of Sam, but this is the next generation of Sam for sure.
She'd be a few years older than him, because she was like in her
mid-20s,
maybe like 20-ish.
She might be 7 years older, 7 years older, but also Jack's probably 25 years older mentally.
Yeah, he's way older in his head. That'd be weird.
Kind of, sort of, not necessarily. I guess we're I'm not watching it necessarily, but there's the frickin' George and Mandy show that is the Big Bang Theory spin-off, and it's a 20-year-old dude married to like a 31-year-old. and they're doing fine, I guess. So, and obviously throughout history, nowadays, I guess with the age of the internet, larger kind of dating or marriage spans are feel a little bit more odd, but throughout history, I know plenty of people that have parents 10, 12 years apart, mentally, if they're not that far apart, because obviously Jennifer Haley's probably a little bit smarter than her years as well.
Yeah, I mean, from a intellectual, mental standpoint, it's kind of like an old guy marrying a young chick. Marrying or getting together with, I shouldn't say dessert, but being together.
It's Aaron Taylor Johnson with Glenn Close, or Aaron Taylor Johnson with his new wife.
Yeah.
Harris, I prefer my SG1 team. I sent you for a film reboot. I did see that literally like 2 minutes before I jumped on here. I do not want that reboot. But I wouldn't mind seeing those folks in the cast if it were the case.
Oh yes, I saw that too. Yeah.
Oh look, you just sent another Stargate Outpost thing too.
Okay.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, no. David said Stargate breaking news. Here we are, jokingly, of course. New cast: Josh Duhamel, Scarlett Johansson, LL Cool J, and Jensen Ackles.
Yeah.
Wonderful graphic editing there.
Yeah.
Please, no reboot.
No, we don't want that. Anyway.
No.
I don't think anybody.
Also, Jonathan Jack O'Neill. Oh, thank you. I would not have remembered that.
Yeah. Well, Jack is kind of a nickname for Jonathan. So whatever. But yeah. So he just went keeping to the original Jonathan. Yeah.
Honestly.
Maybe he is 1L also.
Surprise. He's 4 L's now. Don't ask for
3 L's. An extra L for every generation. Or incarnation, maybe I should say.
First of all,
I agree.
No. Hard reboot.
Mm-mm.
But even if all the old characters died in universe, it wouldn't be a hard reboot. It would be a continuation. You'd have to give some good reason for that, but that could work. It would be kind of sad and it would be heartbreaking for us, but it would be interesting if maybe Michael or Ball or somebody had like found their way into something and like, what if all of our old SG1 and like SGA characters, what if the people that have been making the biggest difference throughout the galaxies, the last about generation or so, are slowly being picked off one by one. And that's like a subplot that we have to find by the end. Scott Bakula is the new general.
There you go.
I'd rather live on the planet with the people in bodysuits who die from everything than get a reboot. Yeah. But Ixnay on the hard reboot. Death to all the old characters.
I don't know all of them, but like we've always talked about, I want, have like old Jack O'Neill go out in a blaze of glory as like a big, he does something that saves the universe or whatever. I think that would be great.
Terry Metalis Stargate with Molossi.
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessarily going to be woke nonsense. I think they're going to be pretty adamant about doing the opposite, and hopefully that doesn't mean they double down on like military. Yeah. I don't think that's going to happen either.
Well, it never was like really that anyway. The real Uber, I mean, it was took place in the middle, but it never really felt like uber military.
It gave itself.
You were kind of doing something kind of outside of. I mean, the military was there and they wanted to get, tech and blah, blah, blah. But it's just this super secret arm,
But yeah, I just had a joke. Peter said Russell T. Davies will be available as showrunner as
I don't think he'd be down.
No. maybe make the ramp up to the gate automated. A little treadmill just puts you
yeah,
right
you
in.
just jump on it, like conveyor belts you into the
You have to do a jump and a heel click to get into the gate now. That's the way to do it. You guys know that Stargate is the only show that had not one but two actual Air Force generals play in the show. It's a military show for sure. Well, yeah, definitely. It is a military show for sure. But like Sarah was saying, there's nuance within how they deal with it versus it being like
yeah,
marching. We're the military. It's not like it's not a military show. It is a show that is like military. It's a military show, but it's not like I guess I'm struggling to find the exact.
Focus is more like the adventure and the traveling than it is the military.
Yeah, and even like Jack is super military man, but he's also the first person to call them out whenever they're not doing something right, or hey, we haven't been doing something like what you're trying to do right now. Why are you holding yourself to a double standard right now? Like, we haven't been peaceful at all the entire time. We've been going over to people's planets and just taking stuff. Like,
or giving them weapons, or like telling them their gods aren't real and stuff.
Your religion is false. Your gods aren't real. Your weapons suck. Here, shoot back at them with this.
Yeah, exactly.
The entirety of your reality, just throw it out. Throw it out the window.
Go with what we say, because we just showed up, Yeah.
It's like, and we don't like your gods. So yes, technically we should be your enemy, is immediately what we're telling you. Right. Because we're against your gods and your religion and everything that your entire thought process has always been. Yeah. But we got you. We look at our technology. You want to shoot this thing? Try a gun out real quick. Yeah. And honestly, that they would get me. I'm a Texan. They would get me in a heartbeat. They give me a P90 and let me shoot at a tree for a second. I'd be like, I'm with you. I'm in. That was a lot of fun. I'm ready.
Yeah. Like, they do that whole demonstration with, I don't remember, was it the Jaffa? No, it wasn't. It was some other.
It was
anyway,
it was with Imhotep.
That demonstration, whatever. It was
with Imhotep, right? Whenever Imhotep was inside of the one Jaffa guy, and the Jaffa was trying to lead the rebellion, and he was really just trying to take out Teal'c and Braytak. Because that's it's one of the best acting line I think in the whole series is that whole Vala and Daniel scene. Like, it's literally 10 years worth of just stuff worth of Daniel Jackson all crammed into that, with 3 or 4 years worth of Vala. That's just like, it's intense, but it's really good. Yeah. Another one of the best scenes in the entire show is staff weapons. They're a weapon of war. These are weapons of destruction. And just the line delivery, the whole thing. Yeah. Sam, shoot that. And she just shoots the line down first with one bullet. It's like, you can't display that better. And that alone says, okay, you might have cooler technology. And it is better technology in a lot of ways. But you didn't account for people that are less technologically developed than you. If there was some ninja society that was really good with bows and arrows, they could probably take out the Goa'uld in a lot of ways. And a bow and arrow might actually get through a Goa'uld shield.
Yeah.
Or
even if Dune, where you can get through them if you go really slow.
Well, even if the arrow couldn't get through the shield, you know what you could do with a Goa'uld? Get right up next to the shield, put the bow at the end of the shield, draw back the arrow, and have the tip of the arrow already through the shield. Right. And then you're done. There goes the Goa'uld. That's the way to assassinate a Goa'uld with a bow and arrow, Have a staff weapon and a staff infection.
That is very true.
Yes. Yes. Popcorn. I swear, every time I look over, I just start chuckling. I'm like, am I allowed to bring this up on screen? Is YouTube going to be okay with it? That one, yes. That one, yes. Yeah. After all this conversation, B, I'm right there with you. I need to get through this SG1 kind of background rewatch.
Yeah.
Imhotep was a human, not a Jaffa. Oh, that's right. He wasn't a Jaffa because he didn't have the big old pouch. Pretended to be his own former prime. Remember, Jaffa can't be implanted. Yep. No symbiote pouch. Yep. Where were we going with that again? I started thinking about the mass disruption. And
I think we got a little off track of the who do we swap, or we pretty much hit all that. I don't know.
It's funny they had to invent the NID as protagonist and antagonist, I guess, at first, rather than mention actual 3-letter agencies. Yeah, I mean, if you're already working with the 3-letter agencies and having actual Air Force members in your show as, Air Force members, you're probably contractually obligated to not say some certain things, or use specific agencies elsewhere. So then you kind of play with it. But realistically, if this was real, if the Stargate was real and our government started doing things around the Stargate, they'd probably create a couple agencies around it. The Air Force totally made them use an idea. They were like, CIA? No. No.
Yeah.
No. Just stick with what you got. They were like, can we use the ATF? No. Like, you can't use anybody.
Well, it kind of makes sense. They were watching. What was their purpose exactly? The NID to get technology. They wanted the technology. They were big on getting the tech to make weapons from their travels. But they were always trying to stop them from getting the information because they didn't want them making weapons or something. I don't know. Anyway, and they were always trying to steal the tech. Remember, they had that secret base with all that stuff they stole. Whatever. But
it was just so weirdly handled. What does NID stand for? Yeah, IOA. Thank you. IOA started in the NID. Some of those, I guess, were the IOA doing things as well. But what did the IOA and what did the NID stand for again? Can y'all help us out, chat? They were all things Stargate CIA. Quest says, so who do we swap? There's so many options.
Who else do we want
to? So many options. If we were to swap out Frasier, would it simply just be for Beckett? And if Beckett were swapped out,
would
we enjoy Beckett more on SG1 in a way? Because I think Beckett could have played with SG1.
I don't know.
International Oversight Association. Thank you. National Intelligence Department.
Okay.
That makes sense. Yeah, I can see Beckett switching out for Frasier.
Right. But Frasier wasn't alive when they started the expedition. But we could say it's, we'll throw that out the window, or it's just, like I said before, alternate universe Frasier.
If she were, though.
But there isn't, what other medic, because there wasn't, I mean, there was Dr. Lamb, but that wasn't till
she
later.
Came later.
Yeah.
I'd rather try to cast the new show's fantasy team and base command. That'd be another fun one. We could do that for a whole stream itself, honestly, and try to figure out who'd do well and so on and so forth. Swap Woolsey with Daniel in season 5 SGA. I really do like Woolsey. That made me really love Woolsey. It went from Woolsey being like that character you like to not like to like,
But I could also see like Daniel running SGA because, that's like his thing, get to explore all this ancients like stuff,
Oh, he would have been perfect for it. Daniel would have been perfect for it the entire time. But if we're swapping them, that puts Woolsey on SG1.
Yeah. I don't know if that works.
Swap Doctors Lamb with Keller. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Bo Bridges' character in there, General Landry. There we go. would have said, "Hey, I can't work with my daughter. It's too close to home. I have to send her on an expedition because she needs to work with an SGC. She knows too much. She has to work within this kind of field, but also it's a conflict of interest to have my family member on the base with me here. So I have to put her in there."
Yeah, that makes more sense. Yeah.
That would have been good.
Initially, they brought her in because it was during the Ori plague. They brought her in because she was like an expert on viruses or diseases or something. But then they just kind of made her the doctor for a bit anyway.
Yeah. With Lamb?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Because Keller, I guess it wasn't Keller, but it was what's the actress's name? Jewel State. She would have because she started Atlantis as the little Wraith girl that Shepard has to do I guess kill. Oops. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry there, Keller. Right. Then it would be Lamb and Rodney instead of Keller and Rodney. Or would it? Because I don't think Lamb would have gone after McKay at all.
No.
That would have been a Lamb and Ronan probably. I mean, or anybody else, but Lamb and Ronan would have kind of made sense.
Shepard.
Or Shepard. And Keller could have gone anywhere. Jewel State could have fit into any cast. She's one of those actresses that you can quite legitimately place her in any show, anytime, anywhere, and just say, "Hey, be yourself, but in this time period. Be yourself with this thought process."
Yeah.
Lamb and Woolsey? Oh no. No, Mira says, no, Woolsey was a wimp, could never be SG1 material.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either. But you could say about like Daniel in the beginning, but Daniel had he was even in the movie, he was like picking up a gun and shooting. So
he was adventurous, and he was like, he was so excited that he was in his adrenaline kind of let him be there, versus Woolsey. We kind of see him under duress a couple times, and he's like, under the table as quickly as possible. Right. Yeah.
But could you see him developing into more of a stronger character in that regard? I don't know. But yeah. I liked Woolsey in Atlanta. I did not like him in, he was kind of a Weasley character, Weasley lawyerly character. But I love the development. He grows a lot in that final season, in that season where he's running the SGA. Like, just you end up really liking him by the end of SGA. He's really good, I think.
Yeah, I wouldn't think he's a wimp by the end of SGA.
No, he's grown a lot.
Of even this last season, he might be. But he stepped into, and I don't think, like you were just saying, I don't think he's going to pick up a gun and start shooting like Jackson would.
Right.
But he's a good chair leader. Woolsey, I think, would end up being a good leader from the chair.
Right.
As in, he's got that. I don't know if it's a military tactician mind. I don't know if that would be a good way to describe it. Probably not. But popcorn. I can't look over there. Like, totally derailed my thought real quick.
Could Woolsey still be running the SGA? Probably not. But it'd be interesting to. I mean, I love Robert Picardo, so it's like it'd be cool to be able to bring him back as Woolsey for something, even if it's
because he started showing spine. I think he'd be a good cheerleader, but I think he is. I think he's a good tactical mind, and like obviously he's an amazing tactician in a political sense, political in the inner workings of a global economy, and even that global economy reaching into a galactic economy to some degree. He can process and help move that entire economy along very well. I think with that type of knowledge and the ability to do that after sitting with the kind of tactician aspect of things, after hanging out with Shepard for a couple seasons, a couple years, whatever it would actually be,
right?
You get the hang of it, I think.
Yeah, maybe he's not the person to like go out in the field and carry it out, but he's good at coming up with what needs to happen or playing the political games or whatever you need to play behind the scenes.
Where Sam and Daniel, where they're both arguably the best case scenarios for SGA, just like leadership role wise, just because of the experience they have, and hell, they can go from yes, we're both doctors, yes, we both think this way, yes, we're primarily focused on civilians, but we also have this amount of military training. We've also been fighting with the military for this long, doing all these crazy things. We can do action when we need to do it. Like when it gets to the nitty gritty, when the Wraith are on our doorstep, it's not going to be us saying something from a chair over here. We're going to pick up the guns and start shooting too, you know?
Right, yeah.
I get that, but we're would have been closer to the way I think Woolsey would have ran things.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing, I don't think.
Right. They wanted more of like somebody who was like
that less military influence.
Yeah, like the what they call it, the civilian oversight or whatever, you know. It might be for a couple of the characters they bring back, but I don't know.
Woolsey grew from season 9, episode 17, when they were being hunted by those bugs. Oh yeah, that's whenever his like, I guess, long form growth arc truly begins. But that last season of Atlantis, like we all know, is just you make a character that we're all rolling our eyes at constantly to somebody that we actually are smiling about by the end of the season. Attaway, y'all. Attaway.
And I loved him as the doctor in Voyager too. He was great. So
how are you gonna swap him out? I think it was probably Michael and Quest, I think. No, it was Neo. I never know how to say that. No Go. I'm gonna start saying that one. But Beckett was doing some real advanced work in Atlantis, and Janet having to sit in the Arctic chair and launching a drone at O'Neill would be weird. That is a good point where Beckett was legitimately specified for Atlantis because of his gene as well. So to switch those two would not have made a whole bunch of sense. But at the point of Lamb and Keller, that kind of would have made sense. And if Lamb would have made it all the way to Atlantis, we kind of said, okay, she'd probably hitch up with some Ronan or maybe McKay like Keller did, but who knows? If Keller were going to go to SG1, do you think that opens up an avenue for her and Cam?
I was just thinking the same thing, like her and Cam, like for sure. That
would be really good. I kind of like that, honestly.
I do too. Yeah.
Dr. Lamb was married because that's why she had the last name Lamb.
I don't think she was married. I think she just, because there was that rift between her and her dad, I think that was her mom's name. I think, yeah. I think, because I don't think they ever say she's married or not, or she's just kind of, she's not in a lot of episodes, so I don't think we really get a real in-depth into what her story is, except for she
took her mother's name, Lamb.
She's Landry's, just that she's Landry's daughter, and there's a rift between them. But I think, I don't know, they kind of heal that up by the end, though. I think
they do. Yeah. Keller and Rodney get married, I believe. I think they do. Maybe not in the show, but in the like comics or something like that, at least.
Yeah, I think I remember somebody saying something about that, like they are together later on or something, in some kind of. Anyway, I mean, I kind of like them together, but I also kind of like wanted Keller and Ronan to happen because they had that one episode where they get trapped in the clinic together, whatever. And it's like there was good chemistry between them, and she's a lot like his like wife or whatever that died on Sateda.
Yeah,
like I just didn't know why they didn't have them get together. It just seemed like
in that whole same episode, you have Rodney getting into like the thing that gets me off about that is like Rodney is trying to propose to this character we've never met, but obviously he's head over heels for in his own way.
Right. I think she was then at the end of it, episode or two before they kind of set it up that they were.
Yeah, I guess it was a quick little thing, but like they're trapped in there the whole time. And by the end, they're we're done. Not gonna happen anymore.
Right. And I liked them together. The plant lady and him made more sense to me than him and Keller, but
way more sense. And if they're on the verge of proposal, obviously neither one of them, plant lady is going to end up being a little bit easier to live with than Rodney McKay would be for anybody any day of the week.
Yeah,
But she's at this point. If they're about to propose, like if Rodney's about to propose to her, it's not like she doesn't know Rodney.
Right.
It's not like any of his actions are going to surprise her that day, realistically, outside of actually proposing.
Right.
And she just decides to call it off after Rodney gets scared a little bit. I would have thought, knowing Rodney, she would have been more impressed that he was scared and was able to actually work himself up to almost doing it, and then maybe actually proposing by the end of the episode or something. It just that didn't make a whole bunch of sense to me, especially when they gave the chemistry to Ronan and Keller that they did. Like,
they had great. It was like, oh, they're going to be a thing. Nope. And just, I always was like, I mean, I didn't hate Keller and McKay together, but it's like just her and Ronan. It's like it was just there. Why didn't they do it? You know? But whatever.
I love. Oh my god. Hewlett. Not David Hewlett. What's his first name? Am I crazy? David Hewlett. McKay.
Yeah.
Okay, I was like, David just didn't sound right for a second. Maybe because I keep bringing the name David over here. But yeah, David Hewlett is obviously one of the most important parts of Stargate.
Yeah.
And I get wanting to
bring him back. Yeah.
Oh, 1,000%. And I get wanting to give him a good like love interest. And he's also an amazing actor. But he didn't fit with Keller. Jewel State, and I think if he was not playing Rodney McKay, he was so used to playing Rodney McKay that he is succinctly Rodney McKay when he's playing that character. Rodney McKay wasn't right for Keller. I think I think Jewel State's acting ability was like, hey, I can play off of that. But Rodney never played off of Keller very well. And it was more so like she has to initiate something. There's this going on. We're like, okay, do you like me? Okay, I'm gonna just like make sure you like me. Come over, let's hang out, dude. And that's kind of how he was, but it was nice to see him have a little bit of agency with the girl that he was actually gonna propose to. I feel like bringing him back to Keller made him lose some of that agency. Because it was almost like, oh yeah, I'm out of your league, but I'm gonna like How I Ate Your Mother. What? Because I for a second I was like, he's on the same thought process as me, because it almost felt like Keller was more motherly to McKay than she was like actually in a relationship with him.
Where I liked the plant chick was kind of quirky and weird, like he was.
Yeah,
and it just made sense.
It just made sense. Yeah. And we're Keller and whether it's sorry, I know y'all are buddies, but Hewlett and Jason Momoa are two very different human beings. And Hewlett oozes natural comedy charisma, where Momoa can be comedic charisma all day. We just watched Minecraft, and maybe not be the best movie in the world, but he definitely helps bring the comedy aspect of things.
He can do it, yeah.
He is just natural charisma. He's Hawaiian. He's this giant Hawaiian dude. How do you not just ooze charisma being Jason Momoa,
Yeah, exactly.
Him and Keller's charisma match each other's charisma much more than Jewel State as an actress having to match Rodney McKay.
Yeah.
What you can it just always takes me out of it just a little bit. Or Stargate Blind Date, where Keller has to choose between Todd, Michael, or Rodney. Okay, that would be pretty entertaining. That would be a good swap. I like the Lamb and Keller swap. It might give both of them a little bit more to do. And as much as I think Keller and Ronan would have been a great couple, if she were switched to SG1,
right?
Cam and Keller could be really cool.
Oh yeah.
Popcorn. They should cast The Rock for the new Stargate. We need him to try to take over the entire franchise to revolve around himself, where he never loses and he is the star. Did you see the new A24 movie trailer with him in it?
No.
He is playing. It's a movie. I forget what it's called. It's a Benny Safdie movie. If Monk was in here, Monk would be like immediately. If chat, y'all can help us out. What is the new The Rock movie with A24? Benny Safdie's directing it. He is in prosthetic makeup. The only part about The Rock that looks The Rock is just the stature of The Rock. It's just because of like who he is physically.
Right.
Face-wise, the prosthetics make him look like a different human being. And this is the first role in years that he won't make something suck. Because, and it's not that he makes things suck. It's just like Popcorn literally just said, it's everything he does is he never leaves his comfort zone anymore as an actor. Mm-hmm. All he does is say, hey, I want to be me. I want you to write this around me, essentially, and have these ancillary characters do their kind of similar things depending on the movie. This is going to be a movie where he actually is the smashing machine. Thank you, Stanley's. It looks really, really, really good. I'm excited to see him actually try, do something that he actually he can act. Pain and Gain is the last movie, 2014, that he actually like went balls to the walls and like tried something outside of I'm The Rock, and it's damn good. It's a Michael Bay movie that's actually damn good. It's not necessarily like everybody's cup of tea, but it's a damn good one. It was the Wrestling Days that made made him famous. Okay, I see. I hate Dwayne the Sub Johnson. I hate a lot of the things he does recently. And not even because
I'm not a huge fan, but I don't hate him,
Yeah. I don't appreciate how he has decided to be just lazy, essentially, and which is weird because he's like the hardest working guy in all of Hollywood, and Mr. stands in the gym for 4 hours a day kind of deal. That's intense. Like the amount of effort he puts in is insane. I don't understand, and deservedly is getting comments like this because since Pain and Gain, since 2014, it has been 11 years since he's had a project that he said, I'm going to try, I know we got off the Stargate kind of route here, but at least he's going to try something again too, which would be good because as an actor, take yourself out of your comfort zone. That's where you live. You can't live inside of a comfort zone. The Rock still tries to write contracts like he's in the WWE. Movies cannot be that formulaic. Yeah, but that's one good thing. He broke his contract for this Smashing Machine movie. He is going to lose a lot in this movie, and he's also going to win a lot in this movie, more so than lose. But there's going to be a lot. He was in a Star Trek Voyager episode. That's funny. Back in the day, like Stand Tall and Race to Witch Mountain's not necessarily like the best thing, or Escape to Witch Mountain, whatever it's called. But he's got heart back in the day. Lost it a little bit, but it'd be nice to see that again. He pissed, I think, the world off with Black Adam, where
that wasn't. Yeah.
Even if the story itself was generic, and it would have, I don't mind that genericism within the story alone. But if you're going to have that, Black Adam is this Egyptian, or I guess Kandahar or Kandar, whatever the actual civilization within the film series is, have an accent. You're an ancient being. Be from the time that you're from, not it's not like this guy walks in and is like, I'm from the Midwest. Hello. Like, sorry, Black Adam, that's not the way you would talk. Like,
Yeah, that's true. But maybe he just couldn't. Maybe they wanted to do that and he just couldn't do it. So they just were like, screw it. We'll just do this.
Oh, no. He chose all that. That's all him. Because the studio wanted him to do a lot of different things, including Shazam, so on and so forth. If that movie would have done right, we actually still might have a DCU and James Gunn might not have been hired. But it would have it would have required The Rock actually committing versus new hierarchy of power. Watch me be me, cool.
Yeah.
And all that being said, back to Stargate. I don't know if he could fit in a Stargate movie. I don't remember exactly how we got on the Rock stuff, but jokingly, I don't think he could necessarily do that well unless he tried just a little bit. Because obviously, we have some RDA works kind of similarly to the Rock.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily see why people are pissy at the Rock and not RDA if this is the case. I'm just being realistic in that sense. I obviously much. It would depend on the role, but I would rather RDA than the Rock in most roles. As the Rock really never died on screen, even in those earlier roles. Definitely not since his new claws or anything. But his RDA, it's just they both take a very similar approach to acting. Where like RDA is like literally, I'm not going to remember lines more than two. If I can't do this, if I can do this over the lines, I'm not going to remember it. You think that leads to like really the best set, And same thing for RDA. I mean, same thing for The Rock. Like that doesn't necessarily lead to the best set when everything revolves around you. Like, okay, you got 4 hours workout, but that means we have to show up late because of you now. Oh, well, we have to change this entire scene around because RDA doesn't want to learn dialogue. And I know I'm harping on that real quick, Matt, but like it is just a natural thing where it's kind of hypocritical to be like, The Rock's the worst. And then also like, hey, one of our favorite people ever does the exact same thing. And even worse, actually, like he doesn't remember his lines at all. It's just being let's trying not to be an oxymoron here, RDAs in the comedy I was talking about soap dish, not soap. No soap, radio. I don't know if anybody's gonna get that. Who's Jack? Who Jack? Yeah, RDA. Yeah. Just the actor wise. Like, and again, I'm not trying to like. The Rock did die in The Mummy 2. Ayo, as the Scorpion King. Did he die in the Scorpion King movie too? And that's how he becomes the Scorpion King? Or is it because he gets cursed or something? I forget. He almost died. I don't remember either. I do love the Scorpion King movie. That's a guilty pleasure kind of movie.
I just remember the super bad CGI, but
that's Mummy 2.
That wasn't in the movie. That was in the Mummy movie. Or anyway,
yeah, that was why they made that one. Yeah. Hulk Hogan is a better actor than Dwayne. No, not remotely. But day to day, maybe day to day. When it comes to actually like if he's trying, The Rock can do it, but it's just so far and few between. The Mummy needs more Tom Cruise and Scientologist. God. He gets cursed in Scorpion King. Okay, that's what I was thinking. But yeah, I forget how we kind of got on that, but long story short, let's be realistic. Let's apply the same standards to anybody, And if we're going to hold The Rock to a higher standard, let's maybe hold RDA to a higher standard a little bit as well. But also, we just want him back. If he's only going to do the 2 lines of dialogue, come back, dude. Like, just do the 2 lines. Like, also, because obviously they did it for 10 plus seasons. They did 10 seasons and a couple of TV films. They can work around it pretty well. So it's not like that's a holdup either. We need to get into something fun because I don't like ending on an RDA. It's like The Rock kind of rant there, tantrum there, whatever. Because acting style wise, from an actor's perspective, that might be the person that you want to be working with on a set because that's going to get a lot of eyes on there, Hey, what we're working on is going to get a lot of views. But from an actor's perspective, you don't necessarily want to be working with either one of them. I wouldn't necessarily say, hey, like that's not necessarily the way I want to work. Hey, this guy's only going to be paying attention. And I hate poo-pooing on RDA, but like, hey, this guy's only going to be paying attention whenever it's the camera's on him, and whenever the camera is on him and he's talking, he's only going to do this much dialogue. When the rest of us have, okay, Sam, because he only had this much dialogue, Sam has to go do how much talking right after? Daniel has to do how much talking?
How much dialogue Sam and Daniel have to do, and quickly.
They couldn't give it to Teal'c because Teal'c is supposed to be the stoic silent type, so it's not like you can just toss it all over to him. When Dwayne comes to visit you, Harris, hide the baby. That's the best. That Fast and Furious end of I think is it the 7th or the 8th one is the best. Have you never seen have you seen the movies or anything like that?
I've seen the first 2, but nothing after that. I think I saw Tokyo Drift too, but I haven't seen anything like after that.
Okay. There's just it's not a blooper. They actually added it to the movie, which the fact that they added it into the movie is hilarious. It was just kind of an offhanded thing. Like it wasn't a scripted thing. At the very end of either the 7th or the 8th film, for Fast and Furious wise, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is walking up to kind of like their family barbecue, because they always have those family barbecues at the end. We're having our whole big like it's like a big Hispanic meal. It's also like the barbecue. It's also like that family thing. It's a couple different things all together, but it is very family, as you know, Vin Diesel likes to do.
Yeah.
And got alarms going off on my phone everywhere. It's so funny. It's you'll die laughing. You should actually look up the clip. Tyrese sees the Rock walking up and says, "Oh, he's here. Hide your baby oil." And the Rock Johnson says, he literally just snaps back. It's not scripted or anything, and goes, "Somebody better hide that big ass forehead." And Ludacris just spits like out of nowhere, and it's just the perfect little thing. It might be one of the funniest little, like, it's not a blooper because they put it in the movie. It's so funny. It is so. I wouldn't even watch the whole movie. I would just watch that. Like it's really good. Did I see the Super Fast, the parody of Fast and Furious? No. We got to rope this back into Stargate real quick. But
But we haven't done Tayla and Ronan. We were gonna circle back to them, I think, at the end, right?
That's true. That's good in there.
Who would we? I mean, obviously, like Teal'c and Ronan. That seems like the obvious one. But I would love to see that too. But
so just to like finish this off, what Sarah was just saying, because kind of what we were thinking about beforehand. Obviously, this is outside of Ball and Michael. It's kind of been pretty strictly like expedition member, SG1 oriented, you know? Switch. Now, Tayla and Ronan and Todd and folks like that are not part of SGA expedition. Who would you switch them out with? Why? That's Malatsiaskus. Fast and Furious Stargate. Use Stargate to get to space. Well, who needs the Stargate to get to space when you've got a Honda Civic with a rocket tied onto the back of it, or duct taped onto the back of it, or whatever? Yeah,
they just shoot the cars through the Stargate.
I got a little bit of niceness for Fast and Furious for a second. Now the duct taped space cars are back, and now I'm angry at them again. But yeah, Tayla and this sounds like an episode of Stargate and Atlantis using the quantum mirror.
There we go.
Sir.
Yeah.
Tayla and Ronan, though, if you had to switch them out with somebody.
Well, Teal'c and Ronan, but that's real obvious.
Yeah.
But,
what about a Tayla and Vala?
Yeah.
Because Vala can fight. Probably not like Tayla can, but Vala can fight. And Tayla would be a nice voice of reason along the SGC. She wouldn't necessarily have a reason to be there, but she could be she would where she acts as a liaison between her people and the Stargate Command. This would be her acting as an ambassador in that case.
Right. Yeah.
Which would be really interesting in a way.
What does Vala do in Atlantis? I don't know. I mean, I guess she did go to Atlantis with Daniel in that one episode where, the ancient chick turns out to not be a hologram. That episode.
Was Vala there?
She goes with Daniel there. Yeah, it's like I forget what episode it is, but it's like they're looking for.
What does she do in the episode?
Some info that's in Atlantis, so they go to Atlantis. She's just kind of there with Daniel, and then Morgan Le Fay or whatever her ancient name is shows up, and they think it's a hologram, and then Daniel's like, "Wait a minute, you're not a hologram. You're actually her, like here talking to us," or whatever she was doing.
Yeah. Oh, because I remember that. But Valor's there?
Yeah. With him, yeah. She's just kind of standing there. I don't think she does anything. But she's with him in the room there, yeah. You don't remember? Yeah.
She's there. Oh, I need to go back and just watch that episode probably in general. Every time we do this, I'm like, oh, we remember so much. Oh, God, we remember so little. Like, it's just like so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, what you came for.
The line she says, I think, what Quest puts there.
Aye.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, kind of they went to the Pegasus instead of the Callium Galaxy and learned about the gate network in the Milky Way in a roundabout way. Oh, I see here. Atlantis introduces SG1 to the Veneer, and later they learned of the Asgard already in the Milky Way galaxy. By then, though, the Asgard are kind of gone. Yeah. They would have learned about the Asgard's destruction in the Milky Way galaxy. Which would that have... Hey, the Asgard gave the humans all of their technology instead of seeking out the Veneer. Would that piss off the Veneer? Or would they understand that because, hey, we kind of split ourselves off anyway? They knew we were out here, but...
Did the Asgard know the Veneer were there?
They would have had to some degree. Like, they knew they split off. I guess they would have had to have some general idea where they would have gone. But maybe they didn't know they were still existing or something like that.
Yeah, because they would think they were suffering the same affliction that they were, but the Veneer figured out they were trying to repair the cloning stuff, right? And I think, were they being successful at it? I don't remember, but...
Well, yeah, because they looked a little bit different.
Right. They were willing to, like, kind of go outside to do whatever it took, kind of outside the ethical boundaries, right? Is that why they left? Because
that's why they left. Because they were doing almost what Loki...
Yeah.
They were doing what that Loki clone was doing and trying to just find ways to keep everything moving. And I guess they did. SG Command opens the gate and Ronan and Taylor step through. SG1 never gets to Abydos. Swap Jonas with Ford.
Yeah. I could see that, except for, like, Ford's a military guy. Jonas is more of the scientist.
Yes, but Jonas and McKay working together would have been really interesting.
Yeah.
And I feel like that
would.
Jonas would have been buddies with McKay naturally, and maybe would have helped McKay kind of acclimate with the rest of the whole team of Atlantis, because it takes a while for McKay to really, like, find his feet. Obviously he's fine just being himself and bumbling around and kind of being an ass to people because, hey, I'm smarter than you. You're going to listen to me anyway. And that's just kind of the way he holds himself.
Yeah.
But that, with Jonas there, it would have been like, hey, these people are pissed off at me. What am I supposed to do? I yelled back and it didn't work very well, He would have someone to actually talk to, which would kind of bring him down to earth a little bit.
Yeah. Jonas had those political skills, too, on top of being, like, a scientist.
And him and Taylor would have been really worked well with each other. That would have been fun to see.
Yeah.
Yeah,
especially because Jonas is also, he's not from Earth. He's from.
So he would have.
So he would have related kind of on that level.
And I guess kind of being not necessarily the last of his people, but ostracized in a way. He would have found. He would have worked really well in Atlantis because he would have been friends with Taylor. He would have been friends with Ronan. He would have been friends with McKay, all in their own ways. And he still would have been used to following that militaristic kind of thing. He would have been really good friends with Shepard, too. Because Shepard, Mr. Mensa, but no, I'm not.
Yeah.
And Jonas is that same way where he's not like, hey, I'm smarter than you. I'm going to tell you how.
Right.
He's just going to like mention how this could be fixed whenever it needs to be. And this here and that there. That would have been sweet. And honestly, Ford going to SG1, I kind of could have seen him probably not turning into an alien, kind of hybrid, and probably end up furthering command. He would have been a good replacement for Jonas in there. You might not have needed Daniel Jackson back all that much. And even if you did bring Daniel Jackson back, it's not like at that point you might not have needed a cam.
Right.
Which would have been interesting. And I don't know if Ford would have been the right person to lead, but at that point, maybe you let Sam lead.
Right. And like he never went nuts and just stayed the original guy he was. Yeah.
But if he went cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, take him out. Take him out.
I agree. Like Daniel wanted to stay in Atlantis so bad, and like especially since he was with the Ancients for a while. And
he knew it.
And so it's like, so did Alden, he lost like the knowledge he had when he was ascended, like he lost. Was that just he just lost that info, or was it just they repressed it in his mind? I guess maybe we don't know for sure, but
it's
because he seemed later on, it seems like he remembers things like almost. Or maybe certain things were left in there by what's her name for him to remember.
Well,
yeah.
Because that makes it end up being like, are they putting him on some kind of like ascended like lab table and specifying what goes in and out? I think it's just repression. It feels like they just repress what knowledge he was able to gain, and maybe he can only retain third dimensional knowledge instead of fourth dimensional knowledge or something. And that's just like some maybe putting him back into an actual physical being doesn't allow him to retain those. And it's not necessarily the ancients doing that.
It's just not possible. When you're like an energy being, you can have all this information. When you're not, you can't.
Swap Vala with Laren.
Yeah.
Laren would not end up with Dr. Daniel Jackson.
That's true.
Vala and Shepard might end up liking each other over time.
Yeah. Actually, Vala and Shepard together. I mean, now we've become a shipping episode here.
Half of this had been, well, if this was over, what would their relationship status look like? It's like, it's an important part of Stargate. There's got to be some love to get the sci-fi movement. I don't know.
I mean, did Vala and Daniel get together? Did it happen?
Yeah. They would make a great divorce couple. That I could see Shepard and Vala like just naturally saying like, oh yeah, and kept doing their thing, and then being like, maybe not, and then that would be really fun to see.
That would be cool too.
Did the Gould ever meet the Wraith, or did they keep the villains separate? They kept the villains separate, but we had I don't know if you were in for that first part, Joey. We talked about Ball and Michael switching. And then Ball, like a clone of Ball, actually surviving and making it to the Pegasus Galaxy, and Michael making it his way into the Milky Way. Michael leads Lucian Alliance.
Ball,
thank you, would eventually jump ship into a Wraith and find his way into other Wraith, maybe even a Wraith Queen.
Mm-hmm.
And then who needs Jaffa anymore?
Yeah.
When you got mindless Wraith drones by Leviathan numbers, asleep, ready to be awoken to do your bidding. Bah, bah, bah. You know, it's one of those.
I like the idea of Selmak and Todd joining. You know, have like a Tok'ra. Would a Tok'ra join with a Wraith? Be interesting, especially since they're looking for hosts. Remember, they're looking for willing hosts. The Tok'ra.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
Especially talking about, because Tok'ra would have to be willing. Like, it'd have to be a willing host. Like, if Jacob Carter and Selmak were to be pushed into the Pegasus Galaxy somehow, and Jacob were injured and about to die, and Selmak felt the need to survive, would he say, Jacob, get some energy together real quick and find me a new host? Or would he actually say, okay, now this person is getting close and is saying, like, okay, say your final words right before he like stabs Jacob or whatever bad thing happens in the situation. And as the bad guy gets close, then Selmak jumps ship like a normal Goa'uld would.
Right.
Huh. Joey. It's just simply ghoulish, as you say.
Yeah, exactly.
Goa'uldish, maybe. Yes. Better Call Saul, Intergalactic Divorce Court for for Vala and Shepard.
It'd be funny, but they're a lot alike, you know what I mean? Whereas like Vala and Daniel are so like different, but it works somehow.
They are that yin and yang, where you're like, that shouldn't work, but it does. But it does. Yeah, they were the alternate universe guys, Michael, but we don't know enough about them to. I mean, we could just play around and say, yeah, this would happen, but we don't know what they do or their abilities or necessarily anything like that. But I would have loved to have seen him so much. Daniel was like John Crichton's older brother. That's actually, yeah,
kind of
in a big way.
Like that thing where like Vala looks at them both like, you know, small gene pool or whatever that comment is. Anyway,
who is Chaya in Stargate? I recognize her. Oh, excuse me. Is she the one that yeah, she's the ancient that tries to get Shepard to like her. And doesn't really Chiana or okay. Fargate. That's great. Chaya was an ascendant. I thank you, Vaha. Chiana. There we are. Is it Chaya or Chiana? Because Google responded with Chaya.
In Atlantis? Yeah. I'm just trying to look up a picture because I'm just trying to.
Do you remember the episode where they almost go into like your classic medieval kind of castle, and it's almost like all of the people are worshiping this one queen-like lady, and she ends up being an ascended being, and that still has a corporeal form. And she kind of, I don't know if it's pheromones or if she kind of just, I think she has something that kind of convinces Shepard to fall for her. Yeah, the Eternal Protector.
Oh, I kind of vaguely. It's starting to come back to me now.
Let's see.
Okay. Right.
This, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that now. Yeah.
Hathor. Hathor would have been a good switch with a lot of different like minor villains in SGA, honestly. It would have been very interesting to have had a Goa'uld queen infiltrate the Pegasus Galaxy.
Yeah.
So the one where Shepard's always hooking up with the hot ascended beings. LOL.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first criminal of the ancients. That's right, because she was she was the Eternal Protector, but it was also her prison.
Mm.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
That
I was talking about Mayborn earlier, like swapping him with, that'd be kind of perfect.
Ooh, good one, Stanley's. Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Shepard Shatner, please. I think it was her perfume, Enslavement by Ralph System Lord. That wasn't even that good, but it still made me chuckle. Damn it. Screw you, Arnold. That was oh no, that was really funny. That was it should have made me laugh how hard it was, but we're 2 hours into this and now I'm just laughing at anything Stargate. God, no, Mayborn and Kolya would be perfect though. Denny Craig from Danny Craig, I guess is what you said or meant. I almost read it as Jenny Craig at first, and that's why. Cowan for Mayborn. Early Mayborn, who would do the most damage? Ooh. Oh, that's a good point.
Oh, right. Did they leave him as king of that planet or whatever? Is that where we leave off Mayborn? I don't remember.
Oh, Cowan is Colm.
Colmini. Yeah, that's what I thought it was.
There it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
That would have been good too. Oh, we're on a scratch pad back here. I never know what these things are doing. These crazy cats. I just hear loud noises going crazy around me. Daniel found the hidden lab on Atlantis. Yeah. Jonas and Taylor sit in a gate. I swear I saw another good one.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh, swap Michael with Kinsey. That's what it was. Kinsey in the Pegasus. I don't know what he could do in the Pegasus, honestly.
Yeah, he's just a political animal, but you could do some political intrigue stuff with him, I guess. But he's not going to be like, running around the galaxy or whatever.
In this scenario, would Kinsey be the leader of SGA here, or is he legitimately swapping for Michael, and then Michael is now in the U.S. government, and Kinsey is now in charge of a lot of random bad guys, I guess. I don't know. I like the idea of it. I just don't know if it actually works, that one. Just because of the positioning, like literally.
Was he running? Did he run for president, Kinsey?
He did. He was VP, wasn't he? Didn't he end up becoming VP, or was he still just Senator McKenzie or Senator Kinsey?
Yeah.
We bring in Rainn Wilson as unknown brother of McKay.
He was the president in 2010. Okay.
Yeah, he was VP. Okay. Man, talk about an arc. Kinsey, did he ever die? He was in so many seasons, realistically, though.
Yeah.
Scheming against the Wraith hybrids.
Yeah.
Scheming amongst the Wraith or hybrids.
Yeah.
Kinsey
seems like he would fit in with the Jano. Is that what you call it? My mind is drawing a blank.
Kinsey going in there and hanging out with Janai. Yeah.
Janai, that's what I mean. Yeah. Yeah. Because they're very like that,
Right. John Delancey became the Goa'uld.
That what was that underground group called? There was that underground group that SG1 had to like.
Well, he was part of the NID. That's the guy that in StarTrek plays Q, right?
Yes, but there was wasn't there this split off from the NID that was called the the something. I can't remember.
Not the IOA, because the IOA came first, right? Adrian Conrad's symbiote jumped into.
God, no, I can't remember.
The Baden ID, because I think they were just the
trust.
But
they had the trust. That's what I was trying. Yeah, the trust. That's what I was talking about. Yep, and it was the something. I can remember. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
the group that was stealing tech. Yeah. Oh, and how to get wise.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the trust.
Yep.
Hell, John Delancey could have been Q, just effing with SG1. I mean.
Yeah. Why not have like a Q being in the universe there too,
Or I guess
the ancients were kind of like the Q, I guess, of Stargate.
That's what I was going to ask, because I guess I don't know enough about Star Trek to really dive.
So the Q could snap their fingers and make things, and the ancients weren't quite, I don't think, as powerful as the Q, but kind of a similar. More powerful than your average person beings, So.
Well, they seem kind of like the ancients were nowhere near as powerful as a Q.
Right. No.
Okay. Well, I have no idea, I guess, what a Q's powers are, but just from the outside, not really knowing a Q, they seem pretty similar, but it almost feels like the Q are okay with being corporeal at the same time. And messing with people. But that's all I know. Because the only thing I know about you is they
have powers. They have way greater powers than Ascended Ancients do. But I'm just kind of they're sort of above just normal human level.
Okay. Immune to viruses or the limits of our biology. Yeah, and I guess the ancients were able to still be taken out by stuff that we could create. Look up omnipotence. Oh no.
Yeah. No. I mean, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, no. I think
the Q would take out.
Yeah, it's
quite a Q could erase the ancients with a snap.
Yeah, they could. Yeah, they could. They could snap their fingers, and you could be in a different part of the universe in the snap of a finger, or whatever. It's just. They can do. Yeah, you'll see once you really get into Star Trek, the Q are godlike, really, which we don't really even know where they get their powers from, but they're like gods, really.
From the very limited perspective of Star Trek I have, having only seen the J.J. Abrams movies as they came out and not really caring about those realistically, okay, cool sci-fi movie, whatever. Yeah. Now watching a almost 2 full seasons of Enterprise and kind of invested in that at least, I get why people don't like the what is the Enterprise time thing again? The time war, whatever it is.
I think it's just Time Wars. Yeah.
Is it just the Time Wars?
I think so.
I get people's hesitation there. But if the Q are legitimately godlike beings in there that can do whatever they want and come in there playing mariachi music, why are people upset with Enterprise with Time Wars? Q sounds like it shouldn't be anywhere near Star Trek. Temporal War. Thank you, Gab.
Yeah. Yep.
Temporal Cold War. I see.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, very limited perspective from Star Trek, but why are people pissed off at the temporal war over time? If, just from what y'all have said in the last few chats about the Q beings, that almost makes me uninterested in Star Trek. It's ew. I don't want
the Q don't necessarily have pure motivations. The Q are these beings that are kind of bored, and so they kind of like to play with humans almost. They're not really interested or care in what humans are doing. It's just they kind of like to play with humans because they're bored, kind of thing.
I don't like that. Just from maybe if I watch it, it'll make more sense with some context.
But the way John Delancey does it, though, is just great. Just him being a Q just works really, really well. It's perfect casting.
Yeah, the casting, he seems awesome, and he's an awesome actor. Like, I'm gonna have to see, because I don't know if I'm gonna like the Q. Because people always are pissed off at Star Wars for being
annoying because he just messes with humans because he just feels like it. He just wants to.
And they've given no actual,
is very exasperated by him because he wants to play all these stupid games that just nobody has time for. It's just, I mean, he does the Q. Well, we're getting into spoiler territory for you. If you want me to say things or avoid things, I don't know.
Well, I guess I'll forget most of them. But
I mean, Q is kind of the reason we become aware of the Borg.
Okay, because that's what people keep saying. Avoid the Borg, don't provoke the Borg.
Yeah. So, I mean, he does good in that sense, but it's more like because he likes, having humans to play with. He doesn't want to see them destroyed. Well,
I guess the thing, because obviously limited perspective here, and obviously we have pitted Star Wars and Star Trek against each other, which that's totally Jay doing that, and now it's all in all of our heads that we're just pitting the two.
I never get why, because it's like, Star Trek's the future, Star Wars is a long time ago.
But
they're different things to me. They're just completely different things. Anyway,
the whole concept of like Star Wars isn't sci-fi. And Star Trek is with Q. Q is here, and we're calling that sci-fi?
Yeah, exactly. But I think the idea is supposedly they're not actually, I don't know, they somehow evolved those powers, or it's like I don't know. I mean, it's not like they have godlike powers, but they're not really gods, if that makes sense.
I get that. Yeah. The thing that I'm hung up on is, I guess, the vitriol I've seen from so many Star Trek people against Star Wars over time for it not being sci-fi. And there's the Q.
Right. I think Star Wars is at least, I mean, maybe I could see why people will make an argument that it's not like hardcore sci-fi, but
yeah, definitely.
I think there's enough in it to call it that.
Oh yeah, I would agree. And obviously that Doctor Who talk from the other day kind of comes back up in here just a little bit as well, but well, wrestling counts as sci-fi. That's funny.
Fantasy, I guess.
Star Wars is a space soap opera, but the soap opera comes from the politics of space, and if that's the case, all Star Trek is space politics as well. Is that not a space soap opera?
Well, it has science fiction stuff. You got robots, space travel, light
Star
speed
Wars
or whatever.
And it's not like either one of them are super particular about how actual I don't think Star Trek or Star Wars is like, oh yeah, there's no noise in space. Oh yeah, you can't fire off. Fire doesn't work in space. Other things like that,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. No, it's in our timeline. Star Trek's history is actually our history, supposedly. Well, technically, so is Star Wars, according to E.T. Because E.T. beings are a part of Star Wars, and it lines up with 1980s. We see the E.T. beings in The Phantom Menace, or is it Clone Wars or Attack of the Clones? One of the two. Star Wars is purely fantasy, but Trek's about our future. Is it?
It's an idealized version of our future, but it's a possible, where Star Wars is in the past of a galaxy far away. This is like us, Earth evolving, or at least an idealized version or whatever. Yeah.
Now that's just messy talk. Yes, it is. But it's no, like it is. It's an idealized. It's a wanted version. Huh.
But Star Wars is not.
Phantom Menace, cool.
Star Wars is not the future. No. I mean, maybe the tech in it would be futuristic for where we are. but technically doesn't take place in the future.
Star Trek was a military procedural made from stories in the 1950s post-World War II. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, the Academy and stuff is definitely militaristic.
What about the Harvester alien skull and Predator Badlands? Does that mean Independence Day is in the alien universe? Seems like it.
Could be.
Seems like it. But yeah, no, I think we did our Taylor and Ronan pretty well at the end.
Yeah.
And then jump back into more.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no, these are all really good thoughts though. I am now. We need another Star Trek, Star Wars debate, and I'm just every time Jamie says anything that is like, it's not sci-fi, it's space fantasy. I'm just gonna say Q.
Yeah.
Q. Q.
Yeah. Yep. Q is probably the most, I guess, if you're looking for some. Well, maybe I won't say the most, but sort of a fantasy-ish part of Star Trek. Yeah.
Well, if it's not the most, we're going to have a part 2 of this debate sometime. I need to get there. Whenever I'm actually watching the series and can talk about it, that'll be easier. People from Star Wars came to our galaxy long ago, and that's how Star Trek came into being over time. Maybe they're even the agents.
Why not tie it all together?
It is.
Tie the 3 big stars together.
It's vaguely possible.
Yeah.
The only thing that keeps that from happening is Star Trek has tried to not use the past, but fictionalize the past and write history for a few hundred years. It would almost make more sense for it to go Star Wars, Stargate, The Expanse.
Right. Well, they do build giant Stargate things in The Expanse, right?
Yeah, then The Expanse gets involved. See, we're on the right way.
Yep.
Q are not gods, just powerful aliens.
Yeah, no, that's true.
But if that's the case, what is a god? How are you defining a god in that sense?
Right. Well, I think in the Star Trek universe, it's atheism, so there is no gods, but it's all science-based. It's just for whatever reason they were able to evolve.
Well, all science-based besides the Q.
Or the technology, maybe it's technology that they're using that makes them appear to have powers. We don't really know. They don't really tell us.
It is. Yeah. Atheism works pretty good for one generation. Exactly, because then I don't know how many other series are after you learn about Q. Because if you're if you learn about the Q in the middle of a series, why would the next series not have people worshiping the Q?
Right. I think there are people that probably do. I don't know if we see that or not, but it seems like it's mentioned. It seems like Q said something about being worshipped before, but I don't know if that's true.
This is also a good question.
Yeah.
They're working on lightsabers. Pretty cool. But also,
yeah,
it's supposed to be past, and it's supposed to be laser stuff. I mean, literal lasers, all kinds of stuff. Obviously, there's 3 or 4 big ones from Star Trek people like to talk about, but they're all derived from. It's not the exact thing going from one thing. It's someone saying, "Hey, that looks cool. Let me do something like that." TNG, there's a John Doe guy they rescue whose species is evolving into a Q-like energy entity. Interesting. Why do ant farmers need humans?
Yeah.
Ori gain power from their followers who are forced to worship them and turn into the Q. I see. Now we're getting there. Now we're getting there. Yeah. Was it Kaha? Yeah, timeline. Now we're going from Star Wars to Stargate, the Expanse to Star Trek. The Ori are how we turn the Expanse into Star Trek over time.
Yeah.
Not to mention in Star Trek, the Dowd are also very Q-like. Oh yeah, we are definitely the ants in these situations. Yes. Nonetheless, we're ants that have the ability to process information better than an ant tends to process information. So why would we not be like the Ori,
right?
Like trying to worship them, or why would they not be wanting us to,
right?
Got nothing else to do if you're bored,
right?
Domination and subservience sounds like probably one of the few. That's like one of those things, like, people that are like super powerful, super duper powerful, uber rich kind of deal where, well, they've already had all the fun they can have. Now they got to like start, that's always like the bad guy in the movie. Like, oh, they're so rich. The only fun they can have is torture human beings now or something. And it's like, oh, that's messed up.
That's kind of, well, there's a whole, anyway. But I think it's just kind of going back to that thing of like, stuff that we don't understand can seem like it's gods or whatever doing it, but it's just something we don't understand yet. And I think that's kind of the impression you get of the Q. Like they have something that we just don't understand that makes them seem godlike. But they don't really get into it. They kind of leave it a little bit up to your own imagination of how they became what they are. But we just know they're like these beings that are just kind of bored and living out eternity, like doing whatever.
Well, from the TV show perspective, that's fun. I think I like it, like in the show perspective, but from the grand scheme of it all, for Star Trek to be so science focused, so inspiring the world to do the different things for science like that, and then
it's definitely like, not a sciencey thing.
Yeah,
like, I mean, that we know of. It could be their abilities are based on science. We just don't know.
It seems lazy for them not to put that in there. If that's the case, if they're so focused on making everything so like,
I think they want to kind of leave it mysterious.
We need to have this Star Trek Star Wars debate again.
I'm not saying Star Trek is perfect. I mean, believe me, it has its issues.
Well, maybe we need to have an actual debate without Jay about it this time, and have Jay couldn't even moderate it because he's just going to force Star Trek to win one way or another.
Yeah.
Science and dogma, all a tool of self-oppression. Yep. Qs are a bit like techno mages in Babylon 5, but more advanced. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know what techno mage is either yet, but we're working on that one. I saved to watch later. I saw Jay had a video about Babylon 5. Maybe get a little bit of a surprise something, which was fun. But yeah, I guess, Taylor and Ronan are far behind us at this point.
Yeah.
We're
I gotta get going here in a few minutes, so I gotta.
Yeah, I'm hopefully going to be signing a lease on a new house soon, which means the rest of today might be moving and grooving, like legitimately, which would be fun.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anything else before we hop out of here? Because it's been a lot of really fun topics, honestly.
Nope. Just business, I guess, that we don't know what to call it.
I got it. I remembered it as literally right there. It's not our laundry list. Housekeeping. Right. We're doing our housekeeping.
Oh, yes, housekeeping.
The simplest thing in the world to forget for half a week or almost a full week at this point, because I guess it was Sunday. So it is. Yeah, we're half a week. But oh my God. Our housekeeping for the week. Spring cleaning. No. Because whenever we're just trying to at the end of a stream or during a stream, we're like, okay, well, this is what the rest of the week is set up for. These are what the streams we have planned out, kind of deal. we'll say Housekeeping. But since this past Sunday, it went in one ear and out the other at some point, and it's been our laundry list for the past half week. But we're back to Housekeeping. Today's Wednesday, so we've got our housekeeping for that. Saturday, hopefully, we will be able to do an Andor afterthoughts.
Andor or Daredevil?
Andor on Saturday. I'd like to be able to do a Daredevil afterthoughts, but that I'd like to make sure we get some of the afterthoughts crew in for that, because they're typically more of the Marvel guys as well. And obviously we talk about everything, but I know Justin wasn't the biggest fan, and I do want to hear Justin's talk on that. Justin be able to talk about that, and Schmook as well. So if I can find a way for at least the two of them, and if as many of us as possible, that'd be good. I put the bin out for collection tomorrow. I thought you were talking about something here.
Housekeeping.
Oh, I know I'm with you. Okay. Took me a second. Thank you. Thank you, Sarah, for jogging the brain there. Saturday will be Andor. Hopefully we can figure out an afterthoughts. Maybe next Tuesday. Yeah, maybe next Tuesday. That's going to be dependent on a few different things, I guess.
I guess I'll have to discuss with Jay our controversial list for the Chevron Awards that we came up with. Which should have Doctor Who on it above. What was the show that got picked? Oh, Jurassic Park.
For a franchise, yeah.
Yeah.
Which, if we're talking about a franchise, makes more sense, because there's just I get it, but Doctor Who is literally one series, one very long series, and it is by definition a franchise, especially with all the different doctors.
It's just more science fiction than Jurassic Park.
Not at all. Cassian, my roommate, we were doing research and stuff. He said, "Okay, never mind. Jurassic Park is far more science based." Because it is completely science-based. Where Doctor Who,
Jurassic Park made the list and it didn't, so it's fine.
That's true.
I'm just poking at
you. And you know how to poke, because you'll get me in a tangent for the next 30 minutes if we're not careful. Because at the end of the day, Doctor Who is Harry Potter with buttons on a wand. And that's about it. I don't. It's not super sci-fi necessarily.
Or Tremors. I gotta watch. I've never seen Tremors. I gotta watch that.
So much fun. The
Anyway, I really do have to get out of here. So
okay, yeah, let's call it. It might be the best B movie ever. Tremors. I was just trying to think of one that might be better. I don't know if there's a better one. Anyway, housekeeping. Today's Wednesday. Stargate Outpost. Thank y'all for hanging. Friday, Radical Wasteland podcast. Saturday, we should be doing an Andor Afterthoughts with hopefully as much of the crew as possible, both Afterthoughts and SciTrek main crew. And then Sunday, Sci-Fi Sundays. And like Sarah was just saying, we should be ending our Chevron Awards this weekend. The thought process there super quickly was Jay and I were like, okay, we don't know necessarily how to do the polls without letting people see the polls. So should we just do the polls generally, y'all? Or should we have them up for 2 days and then rip them off before Sunday? And then we go from there. Tremors is that Kevin Bacon movie, definitely. And the delivery vehicle for sure. Don't respond here because the stream's about to end. But in the actual, not the live stream chat, but in the chat, please put there if you would rather us do Chevron Awards this weekend. Completely transparent, and we're just essentially naming off the results at the end of the day, or if you'd like us to do maybe 2 or 3 days worth of a poll, rip that poll off and then give y'all what the poll said on Sunday. We'd like to do the secret poll. Okay. Well, remember, y'all put that in the chat, not the live chat right here, because that way we'll see it after stream. Because this will all disappear in just a second. Yeah, the comments, not the chat. Sorry.
Yeah, the comments for this video, or
Yes, the comments for this video would be the best.
Okay.
And y'all can just press X on the live chat and just swipe to the little comment section. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
What are these? The Oscars? There are Oscars, man. What do you mean, huh? No, we got this. It's gonna be fun. We're done with the Chevron Awards this weekend, and we're done with today. It is 2 hours 36 minutes into this puppy.
Yeah.
Woo! I think Joseph Malazzi would be proud of everything we were able to come up with today. Because we might have just brought the best like planet-wide thing or galaxy-spanning thing to bring Stargate back with this. All you got to do is, of course, replace Michael and Ball.
Yep.
And with that, I think that's all we've got, huh? Anything else you got for the people?
Nope. I will be here on Sunday. I know that, but okay.
Well, yeah. Love y'all. Appreciate y'all. See y'all. And we'll be back soon. Adios.